Hello, it is Tara Boothby, and I'm sitting in a different angle, but still in my office here at Sojourn Psychology. And today I just wanted to briefly talk about serenity. So, when we're looking into life recovery, one of the great strategies that comes from the 12-step model is just the use of the Serenity Prayer. Now, this is a poem, a prayer that was written years ago, and it's just very beautiful. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, the wisdom to know the difference. So that's pretty typical what might be said at the beginning of a meeting and at the end of one of the anonymous meetings. So again, there's like Alcoholics Anonymous, Codependency Anonymous, Al-Anon, and then there's all sorts of varieties. It's a very useful tool that many people find helpful. So, in a meeting, using a prayer like this is just a grounding strategy. It's a way of coming together in our collectiveness in an experience. And why I think the Serenity Prayer is used is because serenity is so connected to gratitude. And gratitude and serenity are really just simple philosophical terms that are helpful for all of us as we enter into life recovery, um, and re-enter and re-enter and re-enter, because life recovery is just a continual process of moving forward into self-betterment, practicing better presence, practicing better mindfulness and submission to those things that are good for us. So some of this language that can be a little bit uncomfortable, but serenity and gratitude really draw us further into living with better reasoning to live more within our window of tolerance. And our window of tolerance is really just our wellness wheel, our happy and healthy place where we're better at managing our emotions. The more familiarity we have with our window of tolerance, the more our brain, when we are in some sort of state of hyperarousal or hypoarousal, so we're in some sort of trauma, adrenal, anxiety, or we're in a trauma, sort of depressed, low, that when we get in those places, because we have neural pathways that are so well versed in our window of tolerance, we can get back into living with recovery and the goodness of gratitude and the goodness of serenity. Our window of tolerance is just a place of serenity and gratitude. So the Serenity Prayer, and if you haven't read my book, I'm a big fan of it because I reference it. Obviously, it's pretty obvious that I like it. However, in my book, Love and Love's Energy, one of the things that I notice is the Serenity Prayer, and so the Serenity Prayer goes on to say to be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Now, I mean, I have no problems with believing that there's an afterlife after this. I think that higher power can be a great resource. Leaning into mystery is a great resource. Existentialism and those things are beautiful for meaning making. Now, not all existential theorists believe in higher power or afterlife. I just happen to appreciate it. So to be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy in the hope, the promise. What are we moving towards? What is nirvana? These things, this sort of like belief that when I'm in this toil and pain, that there is a grand massive love that wants better for me, and I'm being drawn further and further towards and to be within that grander massive love. Now, what I have wondered about in my own theory in my book is how we get this mixed up, actually. And this pops us away from recovery living. This pops us away from serenity and gratitude because we have this false notion, especially in North American culture, that the goal is to be supremely happy in this life, to be exceptionally beautiful, to be exceptionally talented, to be better, smarter, to live with more moral excellence, to just hit every ball right out of the park. And anything above grandiosity or anything below grandiosity is unacceptable. And we're vulnerable to rejection and all these things. This is just littered with attachment fear. And why attachment theory is so important is because we're utterly afraid of our own fallibility, until we realize that we are completely included in the same heart of love as everybody else. We are flawed and fabulous. And the goal really is to be reasonably happy in this life. which takes away some of the potency of our misuse of our behaviors. You know, why compulsive behaviors can become out of control is because we are over consuming, we are seeking supreme happiness here. We believe that we should always be having fun, we should always be doing our best, we should be shiny and beautiful and brilliant and live with these giant puffed up heads because we're just a celebrity in our own mind. But reasonable happiness, that being a normal person sitting on our couch watching a movie with our children, being a normal person going for a walk, being a normal person confessing to a friend like, "Hey, I yelled at my kid. I um, got a speeding ticket. I forgot to pay my heating bill, or I feel like an imposter at my job. I lived with gross anxiety this entire week." Anybody want to put their hand up? Like, being reasonably happy in this life gives us freedom to say, yeah, you know what? Your anxiety is off the hook for this past week. Um, but you're you're human like everybody else. Sometimes you're good, sometimes you're bad. Sometimes we feel great, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we are really in the zone of excellent happiness, and sometimes we're just sad. It's the reasonability, this naturalness of just being people, in relationship with ourselves, in relationship with other people, and in relationship with whatever we call the blanket that we throw over the mystery. Um, so there's a lot in this one. And if you don't believe that there's anything coming after this life, the Serenity Prayer might not work for you. But for a lot of 12 steppers, for a lot of recovery oriented people, the belief in gratitude and serenity is really helpful. And the Serenity Prayer is just an example that we use with that. So peace and love. And um, yeah, I'm really glad you're here. I'm grateful for you and how we're walking this path together.